For me, women are one of the most beautiful forces in the world. They are warm, empathetic, strong, ambitious, and determined. They live life intensely, laughing and crying with the same passion, celebrating wins and learning from setbacks. And even when they're not all of these things at once, they know that's okay. Women are everywhere: mothers, sisters, teachers, doctors, business leaders. And many of them are shaping the future of our financial world and fintech, the unsung heroes that we're here to celebrate. Hi everyone, I'm Mirela Ciobanu, lead editor with the Paypers, where we're launching the Women at the Forefront of Payments video series to spotlight incredible women who are driving innovation in fintech. And today I'm joined by Silvia Mensdorff-Pouilly, Head of Business Development EMEA Enterprise at Worldpay, and Merima Mahmutovic, Senior Manager at PwC. Two inspiring, strong, knowledgeable, and creative ladies who will share their insights on advice for women aspiring to succeed in fintech, pivotal career moments and lessons learned, diversity in the industry, and their impact on fintech and payments. So without further ado, let's dive in. Silvia, Merima, so nice to have you here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so to kick us off, Silvia, you have such an impressive professional background. We've met at so many events, and every time I was so pleased to see you on stage due to the knowledge that you shared and the way that you explain, making things so easy for us to understand. Could you please share what personal strength and skill has been most valuable in navigating this industry?
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction, Mirela. When you say that, I feel a bit embarrassed because I always look around myself when you describe women. I feel in this industry, there's so many great people, and I'm always very grateful that I'm part of this industry, and with the Paypers has played a big role in kind of informing and sharing information. So you do a great job there. What has made a difference for me in the payments industry in terms of skill sets that I bring? I think it wasn't a conscious choice to join payments, right? I studied organic chemistry. So something completely different. And then through chance, I stumbled into the industry. And I've always been grateful about it because I think it's such a great industry, because when you think about it, whether you're partners or each other's suppliers and customers, or you're each other's worst competitors, you have to collaborate, because in payments, it's a chain. And unless the chain works, it breaks. And so I found this a great industry that is very collaborative and interesting. And so I think that one of my key skills is to bring people together, and to really help that work. And I think that's always been really helpful in my career, to feel like I can open doors for people. I can bring people in. And what I find is when you bring people in, or when you ask people for help, they respond positively and pass that on. And I think that's the way to live life, and the way to act in business is to work on a positive flow of energy that then ultimately brings business to you.
Great. And Merima, could you please share more about your professional background and what projects or products you've been worked on that you are especially proud of? And here I'm also thinking, so many questions in one question, and here I'm also thinking to extract some of the learnings that both women and men can apply within the industry.
Okay. First of all, thank you for this chance to have interview and to talk about our achievements, but our lesson learned from professional career as well. Talking about special project or product is very difficult, since for 15 years of my professional career within financial sector, It's many of the projects and programs and products that I'm proud on. But yes, there is one that I'm emotionally connected with, and it's let's say implementation of smart office program within the bank where I was working 4 years ago. So it's the program about modern workplace, hybrid workplace, actually implementation of digital communication channels and agile process transformation within banking processes, but all that implemented during the pandemic of COVID that we faced, that whole world faced with a couple years ago. So it was very difficult to lead the program with such challenges. But thanks to very committed team partners, we successfully did it, and I'm very proud on that program because it was it was actually motivate me to write my master thesis based on this example, how the companies are transforming during the situations and incidents. I would say incidents like COVID was at the beginning, and how to transform the processes and to set the digital environment in the large bank that I was working in. So actually all my career is connected to financial sector. I was working in the banks, two large international banks, then in one IT company, and then moving myself to PwC in consulting practice for strategy, transformation, technology consulting, but also very passionate about payments, fintechs, how to make collaboration between large financial players like banks are and the smaller startups like different fintechs, and how to create the progression strategies for them. So it's sometimes difficult, but yes, many of projects that I work on with PwC as well. There is one interesting like digital financial services ecosystem of the Western Balkans. So I had a chance to meet more than 50 companies that are developing like fintechs in this very small but very progressive region. And within the EWPN last year with the regional team, I organized a large conference here in Sarajevo. So it was very, very successful. And it's definitely the project in my volunteering career that I'm very proud on, because we invited 35 speakers around EU and the region to meet the young talents and people that are working in this, let's say, less developed payment market, but with a huge potential.
Returning a bit to the smart office idea that you developed during the pandemic, so a very, very tough period. At a point, did you have this thought, I want to give it up, close the door and forget about the project? And if you had this moment, how did you pass over it?
Yeah, there was no option to cancel the project because we canceled the space of our headquarters. So we have to move headquarters space from one building to the another building. So it was time limited as well, because ending the contract with the building that we rented. So we have to finish all the activities and manage the all works with this, let's say, measures that we implemented during the COVID. So all distance, working in shifts, working from home, but somehow, as I mentioned, with a strong commitment and knowing that something that have to be implemented, we finished on the time.
Thank you. So Merima suggested a lot of this idea of commitment and collaboration, and returning to Silvia, that who is a people connector, a dot connector, and I have this feeling that you are so aware of this aspect of the importance of the diversity of a workplace. So when did you first realize the importance of diversity, and what impact did that moment had on you?
So I've always been, even when I studied, it wasn't very diverse, because I studied chemistry and there were 10% women part of my class. So I've always worked very much in a male-dominated environment, and I've never kind of let that stop me. I've always thought that because I was different, it actually created an opportunity for me. Because if 90% is very similar, then if you're different, you stand out. If you're willing to embrace being different. But there are a couple of events in my career that I think have influenced the importance of diversity. I one time was at a conference, and this is in the early 2000s, and I was sitting in a room, and I felt like there were 200 people in the room, and I felt something's off. And I realized I was the only woman in the room, with 200 people in. That was weird.
What was the event about, the theme? Payments?
It was a payments event, yes. But we're talking like 2001, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that. And you can't imagine that anymore, but it was technology and payments. And it was just weird. So that was being a minuscule minority. And then I've always, because I come from different backgrounds, I've always felt that, being able to express different voices creates a better environment. And so that's been really one of the key drivers for me to set up originally the European Women Payments Network, because we really felt like we needed to create a space where diversity really lived and where we brought the industry together to help create a more diverse background. And going back to that first experience I had, we actually used the European Women Payments Network to allow men to experience that. Because from the start of the European Women Payments Network, we always took the approach that men are not part of the problem, men are part of the solution. And so we need to bring men into helping drive more diversity. And so in our first conference, we made sure that we invited men as well, even though it was a European Women Payments Network, and men always kind of go, are we allowed? I'm like, yeah, come. And there it was 200 women and there were about 10 men, right? And at one point in the conference, the 10 men or the 5 men were standing in a group. And so I approached them and I said, hey, how are you doing? How's things going? And they said, this is so weird. We feel so weird. I said, there you go. That's how women feel all the time. And they said, oh, you're right. This is so insightful. This is the first time we're actually able to walk in your shoes. And by walking in your shoes, by realizing what it is to be different, to be a minority, it helps us to then create a better space. And I think that's what we need to do. I think there is a lack of kindness in the world at the moment, unfortunately. And the best way to create kindness and understanding is to put yourself in the other person's shoe. Try and walk a while in their shoes and then come back and say, okay, now I understand you better. Now I can create a better environment to allow people in and create more creativity and grow the business.
So Silvia, if you were to summarize in a nutshell the value behind the European Women in Payments Network, what would that be?
So I think a great network of like-minded people that is very diverse and spans across Europe. I think Merima is a great example where we've taken the network and really expanded into that part of Eastern Europe that brings together people and enables them to use their skill sets in a way that they probably wouldn't in their normal job, because at EWPN, everything is based on volunteer work. So we're organizing an event. You've never organized an event. Come in, help us organize the event. You're going to learn something new. We need somebody to speak. You've never spoken. Okay, get on that stage. And you will have an audience that will lift you up and help you grow yourself. And I think that's the value of it. And it's been such a fantastic ride of the last 10 years that people have opened up and have helped and have grown, and it's the power of the network and the power of us coming together in our annual event, but also coming together in different countries, celebrating different cultures and connecting us across. That's really been a great driver.
Yeah, and speaking about this idea of lifting up and growth, Merima, what practical steps should companies take to ensure diversity and inclusion in hiring and leadership?
So there is no unique approach. So it also depends which companies on which markets and what their key culture within the companies. When it comes, for example, to PwC, big banks that are part of the international groups that belongs to the developed market, there is a unique approach that these companies could reflect on any single markets. But when it comes to smaller companies that are locally based, they definitely have to learn from bigger ones. So I would also speak about some experiences from my background. As in PwC, everything is strictly defined, so there is no there is no way to go a lot outside of the strict guidelines. But when it comes to the market of Bosnia and Herzegovina, there are some alignments that companies need to take care of. So if we talk about some unique steps, I would point out maybe some 2-3 important. Maybe to implement inclusive hiring process, to use the gender neutral language in job posting and avoid that language may deter underrepresentative group from applying. Maybe to train the managers and teams how to lead the structured interviews that will allow each candidate to be asked about the same questions, to align comparison across the any applicants, and to maybe create inclusive working environment. That's actually the most important point, because creating working an environment that is inclusive means that you need to educate and to somehow encourage all other employees to be inclusive to the new joiners that are coming to companies, and they are representing underrepresentative background groups. So I think that many examples are applicable, but definitely a lot of right strategies depending on the environment, on the location of the company, and definitely their culture.
Yeah. So at Worldpay, we have 10 diversity networks that we actively engage with. So not just women, but disabilities, a network for families, right? It's so important to support people in jobs that have families or have to care, of whether that's a brother or sister or mother or father, children, or a sick friend. And I think being able to talk as a company about those things and to help people feel that they're not going to be alone is a big differentiator. But I love what you said, Merima, about the job. That's right where it starts. The job application, if you go through that in a fine-tooth comb, you will actually realize that it's written, and oftentimes are written in a very biased ways. And we've found at Worldpay that if we put effort in and change the way we write out job applications, we get a lot more diverse applicants. Right? You hear a lot of companies complaining about not getting enough diversity in their applicant base. Go look at your applications, and that's where the problem starts, right? So actually, it's not what's out there. The problem is with you as a company not being diverse enough in the way you write.
Yeah, great advice from both of you. And I'm thinking that usually advice comes after you experience something and you have reflected. And if you are to reflect on your careers, your professional path so far, what message would you send to your younger self if you were able to conclude our discussion?
Would you first, Silvia?
So I always would say to my younger self, it's going to be okay. And if it's not, like, it's going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end, and, I'm proud that you're brave. Keep being brave and speaking out and say yes to things. I think I've always lived a life where I like to say yes to things, and it's an adventure, and that's how you're going to end up. I didn't plan to end up in payments, and I'm loving it. Yeah, so it's difficult to plan out life. Life's a roller coaster, and even if it's difficult, it gets better. And that's where the European Women Payments Network was born, by saying, yes, let's do it.
Such an inspirational and encouraging message. And Merima?
Wow. When I'm talking to my 10 years old daughter, I always thinking if there is something differently that I can do to have maybe better work-life balance. It's very popular when it comes to women's, how we are setting all our goals in professional work, with the family, taking care about our children. And then I'm reflecting on my career. 15 years I'm working in financial sector, and if there is anything that I would change, I would say no. So if I'm going to change something in my character and enthusiasm that I'm putting in these activities that I do, I think that I will lose myself, and it's not definitely will be me. So no, there is no message right now, but maybe for 10 years, I still feel very young. So I probably will have something to say to younger myself for 5-10 years. But right now, nothing to change, to do differently.
Yeah. Nevertheless, from both of your message, I take this idea of courage, take ownership of what you do, be proud, and learn from mistakes, and admit if it's okay or if it's not okay. And to be, like we aim with our industry, inclusive. And I'm thinking that inclusive means also to accept all your good and bad parts, all your diverse parts within yourself. So, thank you, Silvia, Merima, for today's call and, for today's interview. And I look forward to meeting you again at events and have a follow-up to this discussion.
On the 14th of October in Amsterdam. You're very much invited.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
you.